Welcome to Verbal Tea, the journaling podcast where we focus more on our own inner voices than the voices of those around us. Each week, we explore topics through journal entries, and this month, we are exploring freedom.
Free! Free!
Yes, and we're taking it to another level because in order to be free, we discussed it on our previous episode, you have to accept yourself. So we are digging into self love this episode, and I have an amazing guest. You guys know they are always amazing. If you're at the tea party, you are amazing. This amazing guest is Saleena Green. They are an organizer, a creative speaker, healer, and leader. Their work in the community organizing through Saleena Green SPC with their show, the Hot Girls Healing Podcast, and get into it. It's good. It's so good. Get into it. It's on all streaming platforms. And they also have the self love workshop. And there are just a few ways that Saleena contributes to uplifting and holding truly safe spaces for the community. Saleena enjoys tea like us. She enjoys reading, leisure, and vacations in their free time. I am so excited to have them on. I introduce to you Saleena Green.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
I'm so glad to have you here. So, just a little backstory, Tea Party members. I saw her collab with another podcaster, and I just love the name. And so then I just started going through her page, like, wow, what she does on her podcast really aligns with what I'm trying to do. And I shot my shot, you guys. It's 2024. We shoot our shots, and she was so willing to be on. I'm so excited to have you. I'm so excited.
Yes, it's all about collaboration. I feel really grateful for anyone who ever approaches me for collaboration. I feel really grateful whenever someone I approach for collaboration wants to collaborate too. We're really all better together, so.
Truly, I can't imagine doing this by myself. Like, I have my fun little teaspoons, and that's great, but I get to recap on all of the connections I made during the month, and it makes it that much stronger. Even my journaling is stronger because I'm talking to you guys.
Absolutely. It's so real. I actually it kind of translates, but I found the same to be true in my healing. Like pursuing my healing individually is great. Pursuing it in community is that's something different. It's
Ooh,
so deep.
it is. It really takes it to another level. A whole other level. And I'm happy to have you on here. I'm so happy to be aligned with so many people who are part of community, have the focus of healing and truly freeing ourselves from all of these barriers that honestly isolate us.
That's so real. And honestly, it's not like that's just what you find out here with every podcast. I've been to, podcast networking events, podcast conferences, and there aren't always healing focused podcasts represented. So
Mhm.
whenever I meet another podcaster who is also in a space of healing and wanting to hold community space, I just feel so lucky. It's like divine alignment, brought us to this point of collaboration. And I just, it gives me feels. I'm so grateful.
I agree because podcasting is healing for a lot of people because they just have something to get off their chest. But
Hmm.
sometimes that's all that they have. They haven't moved into that intentional space to help others
Hmm.
heal. And
Hmm.
you do run into that a lot. Like, I just got something to say, and so I'm going on the microphone. And that's great. It has this space, but it's so nice to see people like, I have something to say and I know others do, so I want to create a space for us all to be heard.
Absolutely. Yes. And to share our healing journeys because that's a part of why people like social media. We want to go on
Mhm.
social media. We want to see how you do your hair. We want to see how you do your nails. What fashion, like how do you put together that great look? I also want to know, like, how did you confront your childhood trauma? How did you learn how to respect boundaries? You know what I mean? So it's like we can be vulnerable and we can show that part of the human experience as well.
Oh, absolutely. Because it's like people will say, "Wow, I wish I had your self-confidence. I wish I had that relationship with myself that you do. How did you get there?" And people are like, "Just love yourself. Just be you." But
There's like stars and hearts just bursting around you. Like that's what I imagine when you say that.
right, self-love. Boom, here's a journal. Like,
Yeah,
no. You got to give the logistics sometimes. You have to break it down, show people the process so it feels accessible to them.
absolutely. And I also like to remind people, it takes small steps to see big change. So like
Mhm.
yes, it is noticeable how you glow and how you just have this energy of yourself that feels self-assured. It makes me feel safe to be in space with you. You have that kind of energy. But it took time. It took change over time, I'm sure, to achieve that. And I think that's the part that people don't get to see as often. Like they just get to see us when we meet the milestone. But we
Yes.
can also be reflective and let people know, this is what I went through to get here. And these are the tools that I used. And they might work for you as well.
Absolutely. And that's a great segue into our topic. But before we cover our topic of self love and acceptance, I just want to ask you, because I ask everyone this, even though I know the answer. What is your relationship with journaling?
Oh, see, my relationship with journaling is one that has taken time, honestly. I grew up in a household where people's journals were like held against them. Like it was not a private
Mm.
space. Someone would be trying to find your journal, they would be reading it, and then they would be like using that against you. And so I never even felt safe to write any of my thoughts down. And it wasn't until I was married in my own place, having a conversation with my husband about journaling, telling him, what had happened. And he's like, well, I'll never do that. You can
Oh,
start your journal now. No one in this house is going to read it. And I was so shook because, now I have the space. Okay. So then I'm like, all right, all right, all right. I have space. I have no real excuse to not journal. So why am I still not journaling?
mhm.
And then I realized I didn't know how to journal. So I started with prompts. I was like, okay, there's this journal prompt on Instagram or whatever, some healing page that I've come across has a journal prompt. So let me just write to this prompt. And it was really prompts that got me into journaling. And that helped me, build that muscle, like you were saying, and get better at it. And then I started like my own journal with no prompts where I just like right. And now I have
Mhm.
both of those. I have my prompted journal and I have my free form journal and I have an affirmations journal as well
Yes.
now. So,
Yes. Look at you, just the growth. I love that. I love hearing that because a lot of people that I speak with have been journaling almost all of their cognizant lives like me. They just scribble down thoughts. But I love how you had to open yourself up to it. I am sorry that you couldn't do it as a child because you
mm,
didn't have that privacy. But I'm sure that's why when you got into it, you just elevated so quickly.
yeah, maybe. Like I remember like I would get journals as gifts when I was younger. I'd be like, you're not getting me. You thought. I never wrote in any of those journals I was given because it just I don't know, maybe it felt like a trap, but it just
Mm,
didn't feel like an actual safe space. So when you can find that for yourself and actually talk to someone who like has locked journals, like her
mm.
journals are locked or she puts them in a box that locks, and I was like, I wish I would have thought of that. Like I never thought to make a safe space for my journal. I just thought, the whole house has to be a safe space or I can't journal.
Oof, and that's a whole other topic because I honestly think the home should be a safe space for that.
Mhm.
My home was different, but I could journal. I
Mm.
could journal and they wouldn't touch those. That was the one part they wouldn't touch because they already knew I had a mouth on me. So I think they just wanted to save themselves.
They're like, we don't even need to
Yeah.
be. I love that. But yeah, journaling is so beautiful. It's so healing. It's always something that I wanted to do. And I'm really, really glad that I took the time, took those little baby steps so that now I can like have all the benefits from journaling that I felt like I always knew were there.
Oh, yes. I'm glad you do too because it is so great. I feel journaling is almost like a dying practice because of social media now.
Mm,
And social media can be a great way to journal, but it just hits different when you are writing and expressing yourself and there's no audience.
yeah. That's actually the part that I love because I actually love to perform. I went to performing arts school. Like, I love being on stage. I host an MC now, so I
Yeah.
still am on stage. But having private moments where no one's, there's no audience. Like you said, no one's looking, no one's going to enter that space. There's something so just like poignant about that. Like, there's something so sacred about a journal, really.
Mhm.
And I didn't, that's the part I don't think I knew, because I just knew the journals were powerful. Like, they could be used as tools. You can, I don't know. It's just bad. I'm like, it's bad. I'm like, you can use them to get against people. But that's what I saw happening. That's what I saw. So I only knew journals to be this very powerful thing. But it's also powerful when you don't have people like trying to get at it for information. It has its own power just existing with your thoughts, your intentions, your words. It's powerful and it's so cool. Like, I only have filled out one journal. I've talked to a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I have journals back from high school. And I'm like, I'm getting so close to finishing that journal. And I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to start my second journal and to have like two journals, like one that I've already filled out all the way and then one that I'm filling out.
Yes, you should be proud because a lot of us who journal since we're childhood, we don't all keep up with it. I've gone through
Um,
spurts every time. Well, for both of my pregnancies, I came back to it, and for milestones, holidays, I always go in there and reflect. But it wasn't until 2022 where I was like, I need to get right back on it regularly. So you should be proud as an
mhm.
adult that it's a routine for you because it took me a while to acclimate to all of my new responsibilities and get back to tapping into myself like that.
Say that. Okay. And honestly, I do find that I go to my different journals when I have varying capacities.
Mhm.
Like, if I just need to affirm myself, like I know that my cup is getting a little empty, I could use something. I might just go to my affirmations journal and just start writing. Usually
Mm,
I'll choose one sentence that is what I need to hear or to know in that moment, and I'll just write it out for at least one page. I'll go longer if I feel like I need to.
mm,
Um, but that's easy because I'm just repeating the phrase and putting it to paper. And then if I feel like I got a little bit of capacity to think about something, but I don't know what I need to write about, then I'm going to my self love prompted journal and I'm about to flip through the pages, and wherever I land, I'll answer that prompt. But to actually journal, to just like go and put my thoughts to paper, that's like optimum capacity. And
right.
that's when I really like have energy and I'm feeling like reflective. Sometimes it's because, a lot of things have happened. I usually will journal after a really good weekend because that's when I get to do things from my own business and I'll be in community. I'll get to see my friends and family. So I'll usually like to journal after all that and just capture that goodness on paper.
Ooh, I love that. I think I need to implement that. My journal is just a dump all. It's everything. Sometimes it is just me affirming. Sometimes it's me scripting my
Mm.
life, which is, I guess, an expansive way of manifesting and affirming.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I'll be like, this is what this is going to look like for this season, or just getting my feelings out. But one thing I've learned is when I challenge myself to write every day, I only do it once a week now. Every day, it's a way to almost romanticize my life because I'm exploding so many
Mhm.
moments and realizing so much magic in my, you know, typical routine life. So, yeah, journaling, it opens the world for you in so many ways. It doesn't matter how often you do it. It's just great to get in there.
Oh my God. I love how you said it's a part of romanticizing your life because that's something that I'm like kind of obsessed with. Like, I live to romanticize the smallest moment of my life. And what I found that helps me romanticize my life is being present. And
Mm.
then like being present makes the journaling so much more rich because you were actually there instead of just like in the past. There are so many moments where like I'm there, but I'm like in my head, or I'm,
Mhm.
thinking about something else, or having anxiety. um, but these moments where I'm actually present, like I was reflecting with my husband. Recently, we went to Cancun for my birthday, and I was very present on that trip. I was extremely grateful to be there. I was there 8 months after my birthday because of how life had worked out. But I told myself I have to do this. Like I've been
Mhm.
waiting to go on this trip for 30 years. I have to go on this trip in my 30th year. And so like it took me so much to get there and yada yada. So when I was there, I was so present. I was so grateful. It was a full moon. Okay. Like,
Yes.
oh my God. It was just, and then I came home and 2 weeks later I'm at work, and it's just
Mm.
my 9 to 5 is not a healing space. Okay. It
I
is
hear
not a
that.
healing space. It is not a healing space. And it's really hard to be in 9 hours a day in a non-healing space. But I was able to like be like, remember when we were in Cancun and the butterflies were there and the sun was shining, and you were like, this is what my life is supposed to be. I was
Mhm.
like, so this paid for that. So we're also grateful for this, right? And it just really helped me in that moment to like claim that gratitude that I needed to claim to be able
Mm.
to romanticize my life in that moment, which is always the goal.
Ooh, I love that. Just bring it back, connect it. Con- because we do, like, not everything is beautiful in the path to something sacred or special. There's
Mm-hmm.
the good, bad, and ugly. It's a compilation of all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, especially with social media, I don't want to blame social media for like all the ills. I think they always lived here. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that they're so apparent and we can see them so much like stronger than we could in the past. But you have this instant gratitude. You just get all of the fuzzies, and it's like, oh no. y- y- You're when you're working out, your muscles are going to burn a bit. That's not going to be
Yep.
comfortable. You're going to feel like you want to give up. You're going to have to drag yourself to the gym, and I like having this podcast, and I love healing podcasts because it gives you that whole picture.
It really does. It's like this holistic approach to yourself.
Mhm.
I, I love to look at health holistically. This comes from my background in nonprofit. I
Mhm.
created holistic healing curriculum for like 7, 8 years, and that was a part of why I started and how I started to see the depth and richness of community based healing, because I was like, whoa, why are we not doing more of this as a society? Like, why are we not acknowledging our communal trauma? Because, like,
Mhm.
we all absolutely have individual trauma. But did we think about, like, some of the things that we've all been through recently and how that's affected us as a society, and, like, how we might move to heal from those things? These are the kind of conversations we're having now. And it's kind of powerful. And it makes you wonder, like, would we even be having these conversations had we not all experienced the
Yeah.
stress, that kind of gym analogy that we're going with here, because I don't even like working out.
Me
So
either.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm like, so you're telling me our muscles have to be under stress and discomfort just to stay like prime and like in a good condition? You're telling me I have to stress myself out
Yes.
just so my body feels healthy? I'm over it already.
Listen, I don't like going to the gym, and I wrote about that in my blog, you guys, but I do like working out,
Hmm.
and I love the burn because I know what it means. Like,
Yeah.
that means you've pushed your body to its limit and your muscles are getting stronger. Your whole body is getting stronger. It's the burn before the reward, but there
Yeah.
is a burn. There is a burn, and I need us to talk about it more.
Yeah, because your muscles actually tear and reform stronger. So, like,
Mhm.
literally, you have to break yourself down a little bit to be rebuilt stronger. And that's something that happens in life as well. But I love that you say you don't like working out, because I don't either. But I do like to do things that keep me active because I
Mhm.
like how I feel when my body is fit. Like I have asthma, I breathe better if I work
Oh.
out. You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
have chronic fatigue. My body feels a lot less fatigue if I work
Yeah.
out, if I stretch, if I'm, you know what I mean? So it's like I want to feel good, and for that reason I'll work out. That's
Right.
it.
No, I agree. I put myself through physical activities because yes, I am more energized somehow.
Hmm.
My whole mood is just in a better space when my
Yeah.
body is in motion. So,
Yeah. But I do it with dance and tennis and Pilates and yoga and things that are fun because I don't like the gym. This will never be me.
no, I want to get into weightlifting so bad, but I'm like, I have to go to a gym. Somebody's got to spot me. This is too much. I want to keep it a personal experience.
All these factors. Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah, I can barely raise the bar. So like, let's not.
We have
Um
one of those pull up bars at home. I was about to show my husband. I was like, "Yeah, I'm about to show you like how strong my arms have been getting from my Pilates workouts." I like grabbed the bar and I was like, "No, actually, I'm gonna show you some other time."
like it's still baking, okay?
This actually a rest day. I checked my calendar, so can't even show you today.
That's great. Okay, so I love this. I love us talking about journaling because I don't think I've really gotten to do that too much in my space before. So,
Mm,
and I think it's because of your relationship with it. It's different than anyone I've ever talked to because came into it as an adult and then just took it to a whole nother level with the multiple journals to match the capacity you have. So, I'm so glad that that segue was totally worth it for me. And I know that our listeners are going to enjoy that part as well. But we journaled about self love. We talked about self love because that is what you are all about. And I knew for freedom that I wanted to talk about that specifically with someone like you because to me, that's the key. That is the key to being
mm,
free. In order for you to define what freedom looks like for you have to free your mind. I know that sounds cliche, but you do. And that means coming home with yourself like and accepting yourself for all that you are and tuning out everything.
yeah.
Just dialing in. And so you journaled about the actions you take to be loved.
Yes. Yeah. I journaled about like what actions I can take, to feel loved because I think a lot of the time when we talk about love or feeling love or being loved, it's always something that's coming from other people or from
Mhm.
outside sources. How can other people make me feel loved? This question I wanted to ask myself because, well, I have power and I have ability and I have energy and I have love. So if I have all of those things, then why do I always have to get it from someone else? How can I give it to myself in the capacity that I can?
Mm.
And when I thought about it, I was like, well, that's really powerful. Like, I want to think more about what I can do to make myself feel loved because there's actually a lot. Um, and it always starts with the breath for me. And this might be because of the asthma, but I don't know. No, asthma aside, I think breath is life. And I think,
Mhm.
that's something that we can all agree on. And so the first thing that I try to do, if I'm feeling any kind of negative, weird energy, or I'm just not right in myself, deep breath. I try to take a
Yes.
deep breath and really just claim contentment. If I just want to feel content in the moment that I'm in and not feel like angst or anxiety or discontentment, then yeah, I'm going to say, I'm going to take that deep breath and I'm going to say like I really claim contentment in my life right now. And I like to attach meaning to my breath and intention
Mm.
to my breath because that's then going to magnify everything that I'm trying to do tenfold just from my breath, which already holds so much power in the universe. Um, and then I also wrote for myself that a thing that I can do to make myself feel loved is to actually honor my boundaries. I didn't make them for nothing. So,
Yes.
and I find that when I honor my boundaries, I actually do feel really good and happy. And I'm like, see, because like you knew that this would make you feel bad if you didn't do it. And then you held your boundary and like, look how peaceful you feel right
Mhm.
now. You don't feel any of those negative emotions that you used to feel when you didn't honor your boundary, allowed yourself to be, exploited or taken advantage of, or your kindness taken for granted, whatever it is. And then, you're feeling that negative feeling on the end of it. I'm like, avoided all of that, kept my
Yes.
peace, protected me. Like, I'll reflect on how I held my boundaries. Um, I affirm myself. Ooh, I spend intentional time alone. That's
That.
another part where I'm really trying to, yeah, because again, this relationship with love always coming from other places. Sometimes I can start unconsciously feeling like if I'm spending time by myself, then there's something wrong, right? Because you would
Mm.
only be alone if other people didn't love you, right? But no, alone time is a tool. It is valuable and sacred space. And if you're introverted like me, you need it anyway.
Mhm. To recharge. Wow, yes. I alone time alone time is so underrated. Oh my gosh. It is vital. People are like, why is she out on the, going to this place by herself? And it's like you do need to
Mm-hmm.
experience things alone. You It's a whole nother experience. I saw it was years ago, and I wish I remembered who said this. Someone said that they consider themselves polyamorous because, their heart has a capacity to love other people, like more than
Mm-hmm.
one person, but also that they're in love with themselves. They have a full-fledged relationship with themselves. And just the way they laid it out, I was like, wow, yes, I am my first lover. I am my closest and best friend.
Yes.
And it changed things.
Ooh,
Whoa.
doesn't it? Going from your biggest critic to your best friend.
Mm.
Oh my God. My whole life has changed. Like, actually.
Seriously. Because I know when my friends, talk down on themselves, I'm like, hey, we're gonna have to fight because you're talking about somebody I care about. You can't about my friend that way.
I
And
just got on my best friend's head about it. I was like, excuse me? That is my best friend. Yeah, we not doing that here.
but seriously, in internalizing that and being like, hey, that's my best friend you're talking about. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's how I confronted my inner critic. I said, like, how can, like, sure, maybe I'm making some valid points. Maybe I'm trying to encourage myself. Maybe I don't even think that what I'm doing is beating myself up, but it is, and it's rude. And you don't talk to other people this way. So why are you talking to you this way? And once I started just being like, okay, well, how can I? Because at first I was like rolling my eyes about this. I was like, sure, I'll try it. Like, I'm an evidence based person. So I'm like, unless I see this working, I'm off the woo woo stuff. But lo and behold, it worked. I started very, very small. I started to just be like, I'm gonna still tell me, but I'm gonna try to flip it and be encouraging to myself because I'm
Hmm.
still gonna call myself out if I did something. I used to be like, oh, you're so stupid. Like, it's, oh God, it sounds terrible to even say now, but I would literally be like, you're stupid. I would say, you're dumb to myself. Please, if you're saying these things to yourself, please, please, please stop. Please find another way.
Please.
Please find another way because you're not those things. And I wasn't those things, but I was just used to being very rude, very dismissive, very belittling to myself. Where did I think I was going to get with that?
Ugh, and it's so crazy how that is our default. For so many people, our default is just beating ourselves up. And it says a lot about the environment we're raised in, not just like our parents or anything, but the society as a whole.
Oh, absolutely. The whole society. Yeah. And the comparisons. And
Oh,
I had to fall out of comparing myself to other people. Um, which is like obviously something that society encourages. I also have 9 sisters. I'm not even kidding, literally 9. So there was a
Wow.
lot of people to compare yourself to just immediately there. You know what I mean? So you have to fall out of comparison, comparing yourself to anyone other than yourself. I only compare myself to the person I was yesterday.
Yep, same. Because I was just thinking about this earlier this morning. Like, what other people have they're struggling with, I don't want their battles. I just want the battles that I have because these are the ones that I'm meant to have to blossom to the next level. Because some people are like, oh, I wish I had that problem. No, actually I don't because I don't know what else they're carrying. I don't know what I had the capacity for. This is this is it for me.
Absolutely. I like to tell people, like, as soon as I started fully managing me, minding
Mhm.
my business and getting
Yeah,
my emotional maturity together, oh girl, my hands was full. I could not take on nobody else's BS at that point.
right.
My full-time job managing me.
Listen, if people think that you're like trying to be high and mighty or and things like that, I'm like, no, I know my business, okay? I know what I got to work on. I'm putting all energy into that. Like I hope the best for them, but it's, it's none of my business unless they want me to be a resource to support them.
Absolutely. Because, being in community is real. And being in community is another way that you can feel love by
Mhm.
being in community with someone else and witnessing someone else love themselves. That is a
Yes.
way that you can feel love, and that's a function of community.
Mhm. Exactly. And community is something that we're going into in August, but it ties so much into liberating yourself and taking yourself to your optimal level because you can't do it by yourself. You can't do it alone.
Yeah. And that's another part about this self-love journey is when you really start to get into knowing yourself and healing your inner child and all that, you realize that, like, yeah, you do want community. You want people around you. And like for me, for so long, I was trying to harden myself from that. Like, I don't need anybody. I only need
Mhm.
myself. And it's like, but you don't even talk nice to yourself. So it's giving clown. But because it's like, not you only need yourself, but then you're also rude to you. So the only person that you need doesn't even speak kindly to you or hold
Yeah.
grace for you. All right, Saleena, past Saleena, look, we hold grace for her. She was real cute. She she was just doing her best that day. But it was this process of learning to love myself and be vulnerable with myself, and then realize like, oh yeah, I actually do want to be able to be vulnerable with the people that I have my closest relationships with.
Mhm.
And then it was about changing up those close relationships because there
Yeah.
was a lot of them where I could not be my vulnerable, loving self that I wanted to be. And I started to notice that other person coming back around more. The hard person who don't need nobody, who just is, not even gonna feel her emotions if she doesn't want to. Like, people who inspire that side of you, it's a sign. Journal
Yes.
about it.
Please, please do journal about that friendship that you feel like you have to censor yourself or you felt terribly misunderstood. Journal about it because you will find out some stuff.
Yeah, I was reflecting on relationships I had, and I was like, well, girl, why are you always so defensive? And then I was like, well, why do I always feel like I need to defend myself? Like, is that a space that you want to be in where you're constantly feeling like you have to defend yourself?
Right. That and it doesn't even mean that the doesn't necessarily mean that those people are bad people,
Mm-hmm.
but they're
Not
not
at all.
yours. They're not your people. That's all. Like you don't have to determine good or bad. You just need to determine what is in alignment with your fulfillment. That's it.
Period. And I always try to do that. I'll try to feel my feelings without judgment. I'm going to hold my boundary without judgment. The person who tried to step over my boundary isn't a bad person. You know what I mean? There doesn't need to be any judgment around that.
Mhm.
The only thing that matters is this is my boundary.
That's it. That
Yeah.
it can be that simple. Like, hey, I have love for you. You have things going on that I couldn't even begin to imagine. However, this is what I need for my fulfillment. And this friction isn't going to fulfill either of us. So,
Yes. And it's such a beautiful thing because I think again in society and shoot, we social media, like I'm so sorry because we've been picking on you a little bit today, but it also inspires it. Where you can't really hold a boundary or say that you're not gonna be in a relationship with someone anymore, platonic or romantic, without it being assumed that there's a fight, you're mad at this person now, y'all have beef or what have you. That's not the case. We just realized that our boundaries aligned in a way where we cannot be in community together right now. And the thing is, sometimes it's both of your boundaries. I've actually
mhm.
had that happen before, where it's like my boundary is this and your boundary is that. Both of them deserve to be honored. The solution then comes with space.
Yep, and that's a it's such a big act of love. I wish people understood that. It's not a hate thing or I don't like you. It's I respect myself enough and love myself enough to not be in this. And if that person has a boundary, like I love you enough not to dishonor your boundary that way. Like if it's not
Yeah,
compatible, it's not compatible. It's okay.
yeah.
It's
Because it's like
okay.
I the thing that I need is not necessarily the thing that you need, he needs, they need.
Right.
It is the thing that I need. That is that.
Right. And everything's so polarizing. It's either I'm doing me, I'm all by myself, or I'm in community and so I have to like accept everybody. But accepting everybody also means accepting that everybody is for you. Like that's a part of
Yeah,
it.
come on. And that's where that accepting everybody actually lies.
Mhm.
Accepting the fact that that person is an okay person and is not someone that I need to be around. I have no hate for that person. I'm not going to send them ill will, right? Because my energy I'm responsible for. And my
Mhm.
energy is tied up in blessings and blessing people. So I don't even have none to hold ill will towards nobody. You know what I mean? But I'm responsible to myself and to protect myself and my community and the people who are in that. It can be a very beautiful thing, boundaries.
And a freeing thing, honestly. It's very freeing once you establish those boundaries and what's fair to you. It really changes how you look at people. It changes how you assess people, even like we said, the ones that don't fit. It changes everything. It's
Yeah.
comes from this wholesome space. You can disconnect from somebody and there still be good energy there, still be
Yeah.
a mutual respect.
Oh my God, I was just looking or just seeing my journal post again, and it was saying like something about the softness,
Mhm.
like a softness in letting go of a situation, a person, right? So maybe there was conflict, but there's a softness in the release.
Mm.
There's no I hate you, you're a bad person, da, 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 da. It's just like we don't align and my path needs to continue in this direction. It seems like you're headed in that one. Blessed be.
Let's be like you're free to be you. No one's obligated to anyone. And I know that people hate that. They hate that. And I guess like as married people that sounds even crazier, but it's
Oh, but it's
true.
just as true.
But it's just the truth. And that's what makes committing to forever such a great thing because it's like we're going to stay in tune and try to stay in sync with each other as we change and we know we're going to change. And so it's
Yeah.
like a constant action.
That is so true. And again, like romantic and platonic relationships, this is the truth. My best
Mhm.
friend, we have known each other and had our relationship longer than my husband and I have. You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
like we've gone through a lot of changes. We met when we were in like the ninth grade. Am I a ninth grader anymore? Hell the fuck nah. I'm grown. I'm a whole different person now. So
Right.
we've gone through a lot of different changes together. Me and my husband, we've been together for 10 years, married for 7. So we have already gone through a lot of changes
Yeah.
together. We met young. And so The only I always tell him, I'm like, child, the only reason why we still together is because we have been changing, not at the same, this, but we've been doing this. Like we're both still growing, we're both still supporting each other, and we're both
Mhm.
moving in the same direction. And that is how a relationship can continue. That's how my other long-term relationships, which are friendships, have been able to continue, is because we see each other as full human beings who are going to change and grow.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to see. You get to see a person fall in love with themselves, get to know themselves better, achieve things that they wanted since they were a kid. That is so beautiful.
Right? It's so cool having friends you've had since you were a child and seeing that whole progression. Like, wow, look at you. You feel almost like a proud parent. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so proud of you.
So true. Me and my best friend, because they came out to Cancun with my husband and I, they brought their partner. And we were just sitting on the beach, like, so we were like ninth graders who were so poor. Like, travel was just a dream, but we knew we were going to do it. We knew it was something we wanted to manifest. And now we right here in Cancun, and we like came and like we flew and we met here and we had our passports. Like, it was just such a moment because, like,
Yes.
to see this manifestation, sometimes manifestations are quick, but they can take years. and, and that does not mean you will not get what you are manifesting. Still put energy towards it. Still imagine it happening, like you're saying. Imagining it happening is a lot of manifesting it.
Honestly, it really is. I script now. That's what I do. I'll write my intentions. I used to just
Mm.
like, I used to write my prayers back in my Christian days, and those
Oh.
that really helps. So now it's transformed into writing my intentions for the month, what I want to see if, for the season. Those are long. I have to give myself like an hour or so to get those down. But I'm seeing it all come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely power in writing it down. I feel like in my journaling journey, that is somewhere where I'm still growing into
Mm,
it. When I manifest and I'm like visualizing, that's something that I do during meditation.
mm.
Um, so writing it down is like still something I'm growing towards, I think. I think with my writing it down, it's mostly things that have already happened. Like, I'm I'm not scared to write down what I want to happen, but it definitely feels like there's something to writing it down, what I want to happen, that feels kind of scary to me still a little bit.
Hmm. That's fair.
Because I'm like, I want it so bad, and like if I write it down, then I wrote it down. So
Well, the way I do it is I write what I want and then what actions I'm going to take to make that
okay.
happen. I still kind of follow the SMART method,
Hmm.
so that is like realistic and a measurable time, all of that. But yes, I'm like, this is what I want to see to come to pass, and I know that we, like as a family or myself as a person, have the capacity and capability to make this happen. This is what this month is going to look like. The choices I'm going to make to put this into
Mm-hmm.
motion. And I think that is because my mother's an engineer. So I'm very like analytical. That's the way I have to do it. I can't really just like daydream, but I'm like, if I can attach it to something tangible that I already have in my grasp, I can make it happen.
Okay, say that because that's my quarterly strategic planning.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, so I need to kind of bring these two situations together. I see.
Mhm.
Why do I be compartmentalizing like that? Like, I could really have benefited from hearing that, but thank you for telling me in this timing.
Yeah, so do it like outside of work because we do it for work,
Hmm.
easy peasy. But we can do it for ourselves, for our creative pursuits, for even our personal, like just what we want to see blossom within ourselves. I know for me, for affirmations, I was like, I want to feel better about myself, but I don't have the time to meditate like I want to.
Hmm.
And so I made lotioning this its whole
Oh.
affirming experience. So when because I have to lotion every day, and so that's when I would start to speak over myself, like I'm rubbing discipline in, I'm rubbing self-acceptance,
Mm.
and that was my practice. I had to just find a way to do it, but I wrote it down. I'm like, how can I do it? How can I do it? I want to do it, and it needs to be in a time where I'm already committed to doing something. And there we
Oh,
have it.
that's so smart. Yes, work smarter, not harder. I'm hearing you.
Yes. Yes. I had to stop with the excuses. With like two children, it felt like I couldn't get anything done. But it's possible. I have to write it out. Personally, I just have to write it out.
I think that that might be something that I need to do too, because I like to manifest, but and daydreaming is something I've been doing since I was a kid. Oh, ooh, I used to get in trouble in school for daydreaming. So so it's like I will live in my head if you let me. But I think writing it down brings it outside of my head and makes it tangible in a way that it's like my dreams aren't too big. The universe will bring you something even bigger.
Yep.
But it's like I be feeling like my dreams are too big. And I think that's just like a fallacy that I'm falling into sometimes still.
That's fair. I feel like that, but I'm still writing it down. Like even though I feel that way, I am trying to reprogram myself by writing it down, and I'm just shook. I'm telling you, this
Mm.
summer I am completely shook with my whole life right now. It's just like amazing. And really all I can say is community and intentions, believing in
Yeah.
myself enough just to put it out there, just to say it out loud.
That's the part. And like believing in yourself enough to not be the person who's gonna like make you doubt yourself or not take action. That's the part. Like I'm so hearing what you're saying, and I'm like, yeah, I'm about to write it down. Like I don't write it down scared, girl. I don't care if you're scared or not. Like, cause I am a little bit scared. Like my dreams feel so big. Like what like I want to be a part of facilitating is really big. Like community healing is not little. That's not small work,
Mm-mm.
especially when you pay attention to historical context and
Mhm.
everything that's happening right now. Like the full scope of what African American people are healing from has never even really been conceptualized by society. It's always reduced, diminished, dismissed.
Yep.
And so I feel like when I'm promoting self love and I'm trying to model that for myself, I'm trying to deal with what's real, right? And in
Mhm.
our society, we don't deal with the real very often. So it can be hard and discouraging for me to write it down, but I'm hearing the value in it. Like I'm hearing you say how it has really changed things and it seems motivating.
I'm glad. It does. You tie them together. Tie your analytical side with your heart. Tie them together. They're supposed to work together. And
Mm,
just watch things happen. And when you look at the people who have achieved amazing things, I don't think they were writing like scripting in their journals, but they were combining those two things. They were
yeah.
utilizing what they had a grasp of and what they were convinced and convicted of pursuing. They combined them.
Yeah. And honestly, as you pursue those things, you do start to see it. Like you
Mhm.
actually start to see in real life the things that you've been imagining for so long. And I've started to see it a little bit too. And it's amazing. Like the amount of community work that is actually being done. And of
Mhm.
course, it's not at these mass levels because that's not really how community be working a lot of the time. It's right here in
Mhm.
these relationships and collaborations that I'm lucky enough to be a part of. And I really hear what you're saying about like writing it down and taking the actions, because that is something that I've also struggled with in the past that journaling helped me with. Like it really helped me to write down like what I've been experiencing and then see change over time. And then
Mhm.
be like, see if you had not just believed in yourself enough to fill out that application. Like I literally just filled out an application for this business acceleration program for SGSPC, my
Mhm.
business. As soon as I finished filling it out, I was like, oh God, I didn't answer the questions right. Like, I was way too vague. I'm over here with my big dreams, like telling them that I want to do all these things. And like, it doesn't even sound realistic. Girl, I got in. Like,
Yes, you got in. Yes,
and I was
absolutely.
like, wow. Like, I had to reflect with myself. And I was like, see, in that moment, good and bad existed. I have room for growth, but I also showed proof of growth, even
Right.
in that exchange. So I'm like, I want to give myself grace and encouragement and acknowledge that I still do have so much room to grow and blossom.
Oh, yes, there's no plateau.
Yeah.
The plateau is only in your mind. And once you just adapt any practice, it can be talking to a friend, it can be writing something to
Hmm.
rewrite it. Free your mind because the only limits that really exist are there. Because
Yeah.
whatever barrier that exists in this world, there's a way to move around it. Once you know that it exists, now you can scope out how to get around it. Like when you see something in the way, you see a gate, like, oh, I can't get in there. You're like, oh, maybe I can buzz in. Maybe there's someone with the key. Maybe I need to call the person who lives here. Like there's a way
Hmm.
to get in. Once you see it, you know how to get through
Yeah.
it.
Another one of those really easy, fun, cute phrases. Whether you believe you can or you believe you cannot, you're right.
It's true. Like all of these easy cliches are so true, but they just don't tell us enough. They don't
Literally,
tell
I'm
us
like,
enough.
bro, because there's so much in that.
Mhm.
Like you're saying, if you believe you can, you got to figure out how. So, so now that you decided you can, the next part within that little easy phrase that they don't tell you is that you got to figure out how.
Exactly. My husband and I just watched a documentary about the "We Are the World" song
Hmm.
and how that was a crazy thing to want to do. Get a whole bunch of stars on a song that the royalties will consistently go to feeding people in Africa, and arranging it on the night of the American Music Awards, like for them to come there and keeping it a secret. But they went through all of the logistics. They were like, "This is what we want, and this is how we're going to start making it happen." He got a team to help him, but just seeing documentaries let me know that my dreams aren't that small or aren't that big.
Hmm.
You just have to believe in it enough to start to write out the steps or think out the steps. Just start drafting out those steps and start moving. That's what, walking by faith means.
Yes. And the other thing that I found is like, you actually aren't going to have to do it by yourself either.
Nope.
Just because you got the idea or the dream and you're the one who has to start it, there will be people coming. Trust. They will be coming to help you, but you have to put in. I found that like I had to put in that front work. Like you
Mhm.
have to work hard, like you believe in yourself. You have to, because if you don't, it's just simply not going to happen. And so once you start working hard and you really move like you believe in yourself and you move like it's going to happen, because it will, people are going to start coming and being a part of it too, because it's always going to happen through community.
Always, always. Even I say I have to be more responsible with what I say because especially this year. I said this year, this decade, I'm trying to step in and unlock my power. I made a
Mm,
post about how there was not an all black burlesque show for Juneteenth. And that was crazy. And I was like, if my rookie brain could figure out how to do it, I would, because this makes me upset that it's not here.
mm-hmm.
But I'm a year and a half in. I have no business, in my mind, producing a show. However, other people thought otherwise.
Yes.
And I was like, "Oh man, I need to want bigger things because I have the community, I have the heart, and I do have the logistics, like the brain for it. I have the
Mhm.
brain to do things because I can break anything down into a cute recipe."
Yes, I love it. I honestly, I was, because I used to be a performer too, and I felt kind of like sad about like stepping into a hosting organizing role, because I was
Mhm.
like, am I like giving up some of my creativity, like juice, to do this? And then no, I'm not
No.
at all. Like, this is actually good. My brain loves it. And the a part about being a booker or an organizer is like you can put people on, and that is actually
Mhm.
amazing to be able to do. Like I'm actually really happy to be able to book Black artists, to be able to put, you know, Black and Indigenous people on, because we are extremely talented, but sometimes, and by sometimes I mean a lot of times, especially depending on where you live, you're not going to get
Mhm.
a fair chance.
It's
And that's just
true.
the reality. So being able to have more and more people who are going to be open in those roles and who are going to value Black contributions, Black talents, Black creativity, we need us in those spaces. So more power to
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you. And I'm still shook from that. I'm shook from a lot of things this year, but anything I've even whispered has like come to pass. And so I'm
Ooh,
like,
Ashe.
and all I did was just outlandishly, to me, outlandishly say 2024, this is the year. This is my golden year because like I was born on the 24th. So I called it my golden year since I missed the other one. And I was like, this year I'm just going to blossom and I'm going to step into my power. I'm going to unlock it.
Mm.
And I didn't know. I didn't know everything that that meant. I just knew that's what I wanted. And yeah, here we are. So I just tell people when it comes to freedom, don't think about all of the doubts. Don't doubt yourself. Just don't downplay yourself. Step into yourself and love yourself. And it's going to make it very hard for you to discount yourself after that. Like you'll do it sometimes, but now there's going to be like bickering in your mind at that.
Yes, I've actually gotten to the point where if a negative thought starts, it gets stopped real quick. And
Mhm.
when I noticed that I got to that point, I was really happy because it took years. Um, but look, I was real bad to myself before. So it did take years of changing the way I thought of, or I thought about myself or spoke to myself mentally. But yeah, changing that habit. Look, if you don't know where to start, start with how you talk to yourself. It's a
Seriously,
really good place to start.
seriously, like acknowledge your limitations, but you can just acknowledge them. Don't give them power because do you
Mhm.
want to be dictated and led by your limitations? No, you don't. You don't want your life to revolve around those. So don't give them so much power in your head.
Yes.
This was good. I'm so glad that this was what we talked about, actions to loving yourself. I am I am honestly still shook on your relationship with journaling. That is the coolest thing I've ever heard. Seriously.
I always wanted to journal. I always wanted to, but I just didn't feel safe enough. And I needed to acknowledge that in myself. And I think I just needed to wait until I had that safety. And then I
Mhm.
needed, I guess, the safety to be pointed out to me because I didn't notice it. I was like, oh, yeah, I am hella safe and comfortable here, aren't I? Um, but it takes time because what I realize is just because you're in a safe space doesn't mean that your mind or body has realized that yet.
Mm.
Especially if you don't be present. Like if you're not used to being present because being present and acknowledging how unsafe your surrounding was, then you revert to something else. And
Mhm.
just because your situation changes doesn't mean that you change. That's why self-love is so important because we got to take inventory on ourselves. We got to pay more attention to ourselves than we've been taught to.
Yes, I agree. I love that, taking inventory of yourself because we can just get locked in a certain state regardless of where we are. Things can change around us and we're just still right here. And that's why I love journaling because you get that reflection and you're
So
like,
good.
"Wow, actually."
Yeah, because like the way I thought I loved myself, and like, of course I did. Of course I loved myself, but was I practicing it? And it
Mm.
was journaling and reflection that really helped me to antagonize that thought a little bit because I hadn't actually thought about it. We think about a lot of stuff, but sometimes we don't think about ourselves that much.
It's seriously, we don't. We think about all of the other things around ourselves. That's why I love how you said that when you think about how to be loved, when you think of actions, instead of setting standards for other people, you were like, what can I do for me? Like me,
Mhm.
how can I love myself?
Yeah, we here.
Right. And you're always going to be here. Like we're always dealing with ourselves. So there needs to
Mhm.
be some real love there.
Yeah, you take you with you wherever you go, and you want that to be a good companion.
Exactly. Like imagine if we were like we could clone our inner voices.
Woo. Yeah, imagine that. Woo-hoo.
They're like, why you keep
Who you
her
want to sit
around?
next to
She's
you?
talking crazy.
Yeah. Oh my god, I think I'm gonna draw that in my journal. I like have these pages that are blank, and I think
Hmm.
I want to draw myself and then like my inner voice.
Oh, that's a good idea. I think I'm gonna do that too. Listeners, if y'all do that, let us know because that's a pretty cool thing. I'm gonna draw her.
Yeah, mine
Ooh.
is actually nice now, so I'm excited to draw her. But I would encourage you to draw her or them, draw your inner voice, even if you don't think it's going to be like a good thing. Like, still do it, still get that visualization because I like to think I'm always like, where do I want to be? Where am I at? How do I close the gap? So
Mm.
you can do that with your inner voice too, and your journaling journey.
Yes,
Because
that's
I want to journal
beautiful.
every day like you.
Oh, once a month. I wish I could do it every day all the time, but I only do it for 1 week a month, like every day for
Oh,
1 week
okay.
a
I
month.
see what you're saying.
During my little teaspoon, my little teaspoon episodes are my recaps, and that's my week that I also just recap on it like every day.
Mm.
I wish I could do it every day like I did when I was a kid. I have to figure out how to do that. I It's not that I can't, I just haven't mapped it out.
Yeah, exactly. You'll figure it out. I actually started taking my journal to work because I
Mm.
realized that I had time to journal on one of my breaks. And I was like, So I brought my journal
That's
and I
smart.
I still don't do it every day, but every day that I feel inspired, I just pull out of my backpack and write for 15 minutes.
That's smart. See, I work from home, so I know I'm not gonna do it.
Look, I'm trying to get back to working from home, but until then, it's it's all about figuring it out, and you will.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, like, we have one more segment. This conversation's been so good. Freedom through journaling. That's the title of this episode. But I have every guest do this because hey, I like spotlighting you guys a little bit. This is our segment called Something to Sip On, where you get to just give the listeners just, something to pour in their cup. So let me introduce our next segment, Something to Sip On. All right. Shout out to my husband for that amazing interlude. He did all of that, the beat, everything. But yes, this is something to sip on. When it comes to freedom, self love, and journaling, what is something you would like to leave our audience with today?
Mm. When it comes to freedom, self love, and journaling, I want to say honor your path and go at your pace.
Mm.
And this is, kind of to that point of not comparing ourselves to anyone other than ourselves. Um, I wanted to be much further along in my healing journey than I was when I started this intentional journey. And a lot of what I had to do was stop telling myself to hurry up, fix yourself, get it right. And I had to just take my time. Sometimes I just needed to cry. Sometimes I have the capacity to do more in depth work on myself and reflect and journal. But go at your pace and, know that healing is not linear.
Yes, that part. Oh, thank you so much. That is probably the most potent advice because we hear all of these stories. We see people at their milestones, as you said earlier, but the reality is we are all multifaceted, including our journeys, and they're not linear. There are things I'm still working on. Like I seem self assured, and I am. I am at a way better place than I was years ago. But there are things I'm still working on. The more you accept yourself, the more you're going to realize what work there is to be done. And there's more that you want to strive to do. So it just never stops. It never stops. And there's beauty in that, that, it's a marathon.
Mhm.
Well, again, thank you so much for being part of Verbal Tea. This has been an amazing, motivating, inspiring episode. I can't wait to draw my inner voice, and I can't wait to see you guys draw your inner voices. Before we go, I do want people to know where to support you and how to follow you. So go ahead and let them know how they can stay in
Oh,
touch.
yeah, of course. You can find me on social media, the cursed social media. No, social media can be a great place. Just,
Hmm.
definitely pay attention to your algorithms because you can
Yes.
curate that to be really positive. Part of doing that is following me at
Yes.
Hot Girls Healing Podcast. So that's on Instagram and TikTok, Hot Girls Healing Podcast. And then on TikTok, I am there as Saleena Green. So definitely follow me. If you're in the Seattle area, look out for my events and look out for my workshop because I do pop up at other people's events too. Please buy my prompted journal, the self love prompted journal that I wrote. Through my own journaling journey. And it just is a culmination of some questions and prompts that I asked myself over the years that helped me to navigate my self love journey. So I hope to see you at my events on social media or purchasing my journal.
Yes, and then of course, as always, we will have all of that in the show notes for you all, so you guys can just clickety click click click, nice and easy. And of course, continue to support Verbal Tea by following us at Verbal Tea Time on Instagram and TikTok, and of course, Verbal Tea on anywhere you stream your podcast. Until next time, you guys, I hope you all continue to spend intentional time with your thoughts, focus on how to thrive instead of survive, and be well.